All righty. Welcome again to another session, a part of our annual meeting. This session is actually a really exciting session as it'll be a panel with some representatives from our MSCC Proof of Concept Grant program, which you heard a little bit about earlier in our opening plenary session. This session is really meant for you to hear directly from leaders and representatives from the Proof of Concept Grant or PoCG program as they share project updates, implementation progress, lessons learned, as well as upcoming milestones. For reference, I'm Jessica Johnson. I just presented, but for those who might have just came into the room, I'm a CI facilitator with the MSCC team. And what I'll do is actually go down the line, starting on the far right with my colleague Jennifer, and allow everyone to give some brief introductions about themselves.
Hi everyone, so I know you spoke, but I'm Kim, so I'm here.
Hello, I'm Al Anderson, Director of Cyberinfrastructure Programs for MSCC under Internet 2. Just to clarify, I am going to be talking about Salish Kootenai College's participation in the Proof of Concept program, and it's because I was at SKC as the CIO when that program started, and I actually wrote the proposal for that, so I have a lot of connection with that school moving forward.
Good morning, it is morning. My name is Loretta Moore, and I'm Professor of Computer Science at Jackson State University. My research focus is AI. I've been working as the CI faculty member as a part of the team, and I'm excited to be here.
Good morning, everybody. Oh, I set the rules earlier. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right, I feel like a pre-K teacher right now, like one class. But anyway, my name is Deborah Dent, and I'm the CIO at Jackson State University and the PI for our PoCG grant.
Hey, good morning. I'm David Lockett. I serve as a grant specialist and co-principal investigator at Meharry Medical College, School of Applied Computational Sciences. We are the 5th newest school at Meharry, focusing primarily on data science, biomedical data science, AI, computer science, and cybersecurity.
Awesome. So before we get started, we just want to provide a brief overview of the Proof of Concept Grant Program. Again, I know you all heard some information in our opening session, but just to reinforce some key areas, the Proof of Concept Grants is a program that works in combination with the MSCC CI team, and MSCC takes the necessary steps to help these institutions address challenges faced by many HBCUs and tribal colleges. These PoCG programs support the funding of key cyber infrastructure technology investments, including network services, data storage, and also providing some of the campuses the opportunity to have a cyber infrastructure facilitator or coordinator on their campus to support and work with the researchers and faculty on their institution campus. Something else we want to note is that the MSCC CI team supports these institutions by providing facilitation support as well as support for capacity building and also guidance on certain cyber infrastructure investments that these institutions might be interested in. So just wanted to provide a little bit of an overview of the Proof of Concept Grant Program, just to level set and provide that context. But we want to first start off with the institutional focus, and for each of the institutional representatives, I want to ask you all to just briefly introduce your institution's primary focus with the Proof of Concept Grant Program. With introducing your primary focus, just share a key milestone or accomplishment that you all have achieved thus far as well. So we can start either way.
Okay, we've got several focuses at Meharry Medical College's School of Applied Computational Sciences that we focused on. One of our main priorities is workforce development. So what we're doing is creating training strategies for students to strengthen HPC and kind of strengthen the overall backbone of high-performance computing at the university. We've got an introduction of a brand new supercomputer at our university that we're allotting those resources not only to faculty but to students as well. we want to not only strengthen our networking resources, but, provide and coordinate IT across campus for various services through our campus-wide programs and our Enterprise Data Analytics Unit.
Okay, so do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay.
Deborah and our sisters will complete each other's sentences.
We'll behave right now. Okay, so anyway, for our PoCG, we initially started out to just build our CI capabilities because we were a part of it, writing the whole grant proposal. And so the first thing we wanted to do is to have a CI facilitator. And so we were able to use the grant to build that CI facilitator. But how did we do it? Part of the grant was to have a tiger team, and these are experts in the community. And most of us in our facilities, when we're trying to build some kind of expertise, we can't afford to go out and pay somebody, right? So we do it in-house. But a lot of times is, where do you get the expertise in-house? So because of the tiger team that was provided by the grant, and they were Internet 2 and people from the community, Lauren here today? Lauren McMichael and who's the other guy, Terry? Russell. They came in and they personally trained our CI facilitator. So from there, we were able to carry on everything that we wanted to do by engaging the faculty, planning, building our programs, planning workforce development, and developing equipment. And then I'm not going to keep talking. I'm going to give you a chance to say something. Go ahead.
Okay, let me think about what you might want me to say. We had 3 pillars for our program, and one was network engagement, and our CI facilitator has really worked with individuals throughout our IT development. I know we got a lot of them here. Wave your hand if you're here. IT people, I'm looking at some of them. They don't want to be recognized, but they're great and they're out there. And then just facilitation of the research and education opportunities that faculty members have going on and introducing them to new opportunities through computing. And then there was the stakeholder alignment. How do we find our stakeholders? That's been a big point ever since that initial meeting. Who are our stakeholders? How do we bring them all to the table? I think one of the proposals was you need to bring the whole community of Jackson, Mississippi to the table. I was like, oh, that's a lot. But we're now starting to go back out to a broader community. I see Terry's looking like we missed something, but okay, all right, we're ready to go.
So Salish Kootenai College kind of had a similar idea of what we needed to do with cyber infrastructure. So there were several avenues. The first was education of the IT department people of what is cyber infrastructure. I mean, that's something that everybody actually has to kind of go through to understand what that means. As part of that was a lot of emphasis on getting them connected to the larger CI community. So conference attendance was funded out of that, travel to different kinds of training, PERC, several other things. Another thing that we funded out of that was CI Facilitator. Given tribal colleges tend to be smaller and don't necessarily have the funding for big staffs and stuff, Salish Kootenai ended up having a faculty person, a computer science professor that worked part-time as a CI facilitator. That worked really well. One of the things a challenge that we faced was kind of an adversarial relationship in a sense between IT and the faculty. And I don't mean like in some super negative thing, but often the faculty viewed IT as a challenge to overcome, to get access to resources, and our work was to repair that and make sure that we were showing IT was a trusted partner in helping them achieve what they wanted to do. And the CI facilitator helped enable that kind of work that way. Another unique thing about the PoCG program and in general is it's kind of a science experiment in a sense that these are evolving, because many times the schools, don't know what they don't know. And one of the things for Salish Kootenai that evolved along the lines was understanding that their identity management was pretty weak and needed some work. And that ended up turning into becoming federated with InCommon, and they're currently working on EduRoam right now. And they also pushed into actual hard work in their identity management structure itself. So these programs are discovering different things in there that need to be addressed that maybe when the first proposal was written, they didn't even realize was a necessary thing to progress. So just wanted to put that out there as well.
Right, I'm speaking to the Nashville Collaborative event. So that includes institutions which are Fisk University, Meharry, Tennessee State University, American Baptist College. Am I missing any? I think those are all of them.
Yeah.
Yes, all 4 of them. So for those institutions, what the PoCG kind of did for them was actually a novel approach, really, where we supported them in chartering a CI collaborative among those institutions. So that was kind of different from the rest, and not something that was necessarily approached, I think, from other institutions in that type of way. The goal being that the institutions would be connected to one another to be able to support high throughput connections amongst one another to support data sharing and more collaborative type of efforts going forward. Another initiative that came out of that collaborative was also a PoCG-funded CI facilitator. The idea behind that facilitator is they would work, and currently do work, with all of the institutions in supporting their CI needs and working to bridge the gaps between each of the institutions to maintain that communication. And then finally, some coordinated network development and campus CI planning. So around that, what we discovered there was the needs are, of course, very different for each of the institutions. So we tailored our approach in working with each of the institutions and supporting what their network development looked like. To kind of keep it high level, it looked different, like I said, different for each institution, but also in the areas of support that they needed. So for some institutions, they were looking for that external type of connectivity, and were connected with other entities to support that. And whereas if there was internal support that was desired, then they kind of worked with me, and still work with me in some of the development of network, how should I explain it? Network, I guess, not just capacity, but also architecture, I would say, architecture and design within the institution, working with me to kind of tailor that to what they were looking to do, so whatever their goals were. And really just to enable, again, that collaboration, future HPC, and other proposal development. I think that's it.
Awesome. Thank you all. And something that you all have heard from each of the representatives from each of the PoCGs is that the PoCG program really helps support and fund CI facilitators or coordinators on their campus. A little plug, tomorrow we're going to have a session focused on CI facilitation and looking at those pain points to partnership and how some of the PoCGs navigated interfacing on their campus level or amongst the various campuses as well. But that leads me to the next question, looking at building capacity for cyber infrastructure on these campuses. So how has each of your PoCG institutions advanced cyber infrastructure capacity through efforts such as high throughput or high performance computing, implementation, networking improvements, institutional coordination, or workforce development?
I can speak on that. At Meharry, we're really looking at, how can we advance this cyber infrastructure capacity? We look at our computing resources by, not only standing them up, but, strengthening our kind of overall network resources by, providing training, coordinating the IT resources, across faculty, staff, and students, providing academic support to, bolster, data-intensive science, strengthening, in turn, pathways for students, faculty and staff to, better integrate CI resources across, different academic curricula. We want to prioritize that we're standing up these high-performance computing resources to, not only support faculty and students, but, provide pathways and backbones for not only funding, but future opportunities for our staff to benefit from.
Is this me?
Yes.
Okay, so one of the things, our key ones is improving our infrastructure. And so the first one that we tackled was Edgerone. Okay, we had Edgerone since 2018. We had Edgerone since 2018. Was it working? No, it wasn't working correctly. And so because of the Tiger team, which we have a lot of our Tiger team members here, we were finally able to get Edgerone working properly. And I'll tell you a little secret that I was doing. I would travel to different meetings. I would go to Internet 2 meetings, right? And everybody would pull out their computers and they had their Edgerone was working. And I didn't want to stand out that I didn't have Edgerone working. So I always had a hotspot hid in my pocket so that I blended in just right with that. But so now I'm so proud that we can go any place and our Edgerone is working. We also were able to join in common, and we're excited about that. We had collaborations with the University of Wisconsin that brought a centralized high throughput computing, which Terry's been involved in. And we were able to acquire an artificial intelligence high performance computing capability, which is led by our deputy CIO. And
I just want to, I don't think we can emphasize enough the role of the MSCC Tiger team, probably known by other names now, but I think they're instrumental because they're sort of like an extended arm of the JSU team. It's something we don't know what we call them. They're weekly, bi-weekly meetings, Fridays at 9 a.m., I think are instrumental in saying, well, you said you were going to do this last week, or you said you're going to do this 3 months ago. What's the update? And so sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, did we forget? Or did we just not get to it? So I think they are instrumental with their technical expertise, but also their, project management, if that's what you all call it. I think a lot of my efforts have been focused on CI workforce development. When Dr. Dent told me, I got this grant, I need to hire a CI facilitator, she didn't have to say anything. I know I needed to go and search high and wide for a CI facilitator. And given the skill set, it's difficult to find. But I teach a couple of courses, discrete math, a computer science seminar focused on responsible AI courses. And so I was introducing to one of my classes to a specific person, Mr. Taylor Haygood. I said, he's deep. I think he could do this. And he did some similar work in his former career. And he'll tell you about that on tomorrow, maybe. And so I think finding him, and then I interact with a lot of students. I said, no, this is a bright one. We need to keep them. My chair says, no, the bright ones you send away. I was like, no, the bright ones I keep. But just being able to find those students that stand out that could potentially work as student CI facilitators. And I think some of our future goals are to include, more instructional collaborations across institutions.
So for SKC, one of the benefits for these folks, IT folks attending the different conferences and stuff, is understanding what some of the best practices were in terms of the network infrastructure. So they've seen significant improvements in network monitoring. There was basic monitoring in place, but they really advanced that so they can get on events that happen and mitigate them relatively quickly. Also better improved logging of things happening on the network and how to support, firmware updates quite easily and more automation with those regards. And that was largely through attendance of different Internet 2 kind of, especially TechX. We developed a CI resource website for faculty and students to go and get quick access to different kind of resources that are out and available. One of the things that we did was hold a data workshop. And so I think there was probably about 40 or so people that attended one way or the other. That was a 2-day workshop that Tim Middlecoop and at the time Russell Hoffman was a CI facilitator working with MSCC. They came on campus and gave that workshop and went really well. Out of that, the people got trained to use Jupyter notebooks. And we also formed a relationship with OSG and implemented a instance of Jupyter notebooks so that any student could use their federated login, faculty as well, to open up a notebook and do their work. So there's several courses that use those notebooks. Their focus mainly is on RStudio, and it's in the life sciences area. They're trying to get some further faculty interested in doing that, but sometimes, you know, you can lead a horse to the water, but if they don't want to give up their laptop, they don't do that easily. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Awesome. Great. So we'll kind of pivot a little bit to talk about some of the partnerships and collaboration that you all have been able to develop through the PoCG program or with the support of the MSCC team. So what partnerships or collaborations have been most impactful to your PoCG efforts, and what future opportunities for collaboration are you most excited about?
So some of our most, pivotal partnerships have been with some of the HBCUs within the area, Fisk, TSU, American Baptist College. And within those partnerships, we've been able to connect, larger data sets, specific cyber infrastructure training for faculty and students, and a variety of kind of cross-campus events to connect students, to the national CI scene. One thing that this partnership enables us to do is to not only share, overall expertise, but to, build on our existing infrastructure, build excitement around CI, attract funding, and, develop training, not only for our faculty, for our students as well. I know we've had, great success with a lot of the workshops that MSC's integrated in, and it in turn leads to collaboration. It builds excitement not only for the students, but for faculty to design new programs and submit for funding as well. And open those ideas up to the greater campus community.
I'll let you go first.
Oh, thank you. I think that one of the things I want to point out, I talked about students. We had 4 student CI facilitators over the last 2 years or so. We've had 2 undergraduate students, one who's been with us multiple semesters. We've had a master's level student and a PhD level student. So to provide training for them as potential future CI facilitators, I think has been outstanding and enabled by the grant. And they would also engage in, we had an HPC 1-week training by Dr. Tu, and I think at least one of them went to the Wisconsin HTC workshop, as well as Mr. Haygood. So I think those partnerships have been outstanding. I think that some things that I am excited about, and I think I put that on each question, exciting things, is to engaging new and established faculty members and research staff members. So when we first started thinking about the facilitation, we thought a lot about within the College of Science, Engineering, and Technology. And I think we've gone way beyond that. And especially with the AI work that's being done on our campus, we have a couple of AI partners here, my co-chair, but you see a number of our faculty members from the College of Business, and their work in data analytics, their work in AI, and from our public health department. So there are just so many opportunities to really infuse this research and development framework throughout campus and for everybody to be excited about it, not just those people that are in the College of Science, Engineering, and Technology. So that's one thing I think that I'm most proud of. I don't know if that was the question, but now you can answer the question, actual question.
That was the question, because when we say partnerships, you're probably thinking about external to Jackson State, but the first thing was that we were able to do a lot of internal partnerships that we didn't have before, so we were bringing everybody together. So what we're looking forward to is expanding our external partnerships too. Of course, we had the partnership with the Tiger team, with Internet 2. We had partnerships with, able to work with NSF. We were included in on some of the NAIR, the very beginning of the NAIR. So we were able to do things like that. And so we're looking forward to, we've been talking to our other state schools Alcorn, you're there, and Mississippi Valley State, and some of the other ones. And we're in the talking mode about how we're forming that partnership so we can start having a major shared resources.
A couple of, I already mentioned one partnership SKC is involved with, and that's the OSG out of University of Wisconsin. That's Marone Libney's group there. Marone actually visited the campus a couple of years ago. He spent a bunch of time with the faculty there. MSCC was pretty instrumental in helping form that relationship. Another entity that SKC participates quite a bit is Northern Tier Network Consortium. So that's a lot of the schools from, well, actually Alaska, and then Washington, Oregon, all the way over to Michigan. And there's a couple of RENs actually involved in that as well. And that group has been very inviting to the tribal colleges, and SKC's participated in just about every meeting there. They have their network guys show up, and you know, great collaboration that comes out of those meetings, plus they feed you really well as well. And I would be remiss in saying when doing In Common, getting federated with that, Cirrus Identity was a critical partner in helping make that happen. They essentially are the middleware that helps get the identity provider for SKC connected into the federation there.
All right, I just wanted to add one other thing for the Nashville Collaborative specifically. So one thing that they are working on collectively is implementing EDGERO on their campuses, and that's really just to kind of, again, support additional collaboration among the institutions so that when researchers, faculty, staff, students are potentially visiting other campuses, they're able to kind of connect seamlessly, as Dr. Dent mentioned earlier.
Perfect. I know throughout a lot of you all's responses, you all have kind of answered some of the questions that we have upcoming, but if anyone would like to elaborate, specifically looking at the professional development and campus engagement, what strategies have you all found to be most effective when you're looking to engage with faculty, staff, and students on your campus and you know, promoting cyber infrastructure?
So instead of treating it as a one-off or you know, as a one-time opportunity, they're embedding CI opportunities in existing research, you know, in existing classes, in research projects. So you know, you have students attending conferences across the country. They're integrating CI. Faculty are teaching it ongoing throughout the semester. That way, you know, you're building it. You know, kind of a cohort method. You know, you're building on what you're doing. You're expanding the overall projects and programs. One thing they're doing is, you know, they're looking for, you know, immediate value. You know, they want students to stay engaged. You know, by integrating, you know, CI, you know, across the board, you know, into existing programs and projects, you know, you're building pathways for learning. You know, not only for students but for faculty as well, so they can see the long-term value, and they can, you know, see those professional development opportunities that are offered at each and every university, kind of like a partnership program. You know, so they can, you know, look down the road and say, hey, you know, this is something we worked on prior, and this is where we're headed.
And piggybacking on what David said is, we're looking at the benefits of us, how we're impacting the students. We've been able to have some students that work with us on the project, and just looking at them, the training that they're getting, and as a result of that, we've had one student that he left us like for the summer. We was going like, wait a minute, you're supposed to be working with us, but he got a chance to take the skill set that he was getting, and he was able to go out and utilize them. And then he came back, and we thought we were going to have him again, but then he graduated, and now he has this really great job, right? Success. So now we got to start all over again, but that's what we want to do, is we want to continue to engage our students and to show that kind of impact, that we're just not doing this just to be doing it. We can see the results of that.
And I agree, and similar to what David is doing, we identified some classes that we could integrate. For example, in my undergraduate artificial intelligence class, we're using HTC to demonstrate the comparison of various search strategies such as breadth first, depth first, A*, constraint satisfaction. So that way you get 20-something students learning AI, but also learning to use HTC computing. And so we're looking at faculty members, such as those in the College of Business over here, to incorporate it into their data analytics course and other courses. So building the workflow so that as we bring other departments or public health in, they can easily follow and everything is set up. And, you know, Terry's been great in terms of addressing issues such as this, should everybody get access from their device, or do they need to come into a laboratory and get access? Or should we go to the library? And so how do we work that out when we're trying to bring in maybe 100+ students a semester onto the HTC resources?
A couple things. First, having the IT staff attend different national events, it gets them past, you know, some of the imposter syndrome that people from, you know, my experience, personal experience, even when you're walking in there, it's a little intimidating at first. And realizing even the big schools have the same problems, they just have a lot more resources and people to address those things. But the problems are the same, the questions are the same, there's even funding constraints that are the same. And once, you know, those people see like, hey, they have the same problems, they're still struggling with the same things, then they can genuinely connect with them and say, I can be part of this community and get past that. That's an important aspect of participating in those things. The other thing was, you know, educating the faculty. I kind of mentioned it already that your IT, whether it's, you know, IT research or in most small schools, it's just your IT department, is really a partner to help you get what you need. And so that's educating both the faculty and the IT people to say, you know, you're not always a roadblock here. And being a former CIO, a lot of times you enter in and you can be the no person because you're trying to do policies and there's, you know, regulatory constraints and things that you have to deal with, but you have to learn a new way to work around those things. And I don't mean like kind of figure out a way around. What I mean is fit within the paradigm of what those things are and meet the researchers where they're at and what their needs are. So participating in this community, seeing those are challenges that we all face and how we can, you know, do a better job at helping those people accomplish what they want to do. I think that's an ongoing effort at SKC to do that. It's an ongoing discussion, and that's a key thing. It's just the discussion gets started and it keeps going, and that's the important part of it. It never ends. There's no solution or end point.
I think that's a really great way to segue into the next question, really focusing on lessons learned and challenges. As Al mentioned earlier, the PoCG program is a program, we're trying to see what works best for institutions so that it can be replicated at other institutions. So we're of course going to encounter some challenges or lessons learned. So with that in mind, are there any that you would like to share that have emerged through the PoCG program?
So put on my other hat now as a director of the thing. I think one of the biggest lessons we learned is that we really need to have administration buy-in to the program. Yeah. We actually started out with I think 5 PoCG programs, and we lost 2 of them. And we lost it because of political instability in those institutions. And the CIOs ended up leaving, and we didn't have high enough level support for those programs to continue past those CIOs leaving. So it's critical that you have that entire buy-in like that from the president on down, because otherwise, if it's just a person that's driving it forward, as soon as that person either falls out of political favor or retires or whatever happens, your program's gone. So you've got to get that kind of buy-in. And sometimes for MSCC, that means we're kind of pushing a little bit, saying, hey, person on campus, you need to bring these other administrators into the discussion so that we're all comfortable that this is going to move forward and be successful.
Yeah, I guess to add on to that, one key lesson that we've learned is the technology is not enough. And you have to build, trust, you have to build clear communication, between your IT, your researchers, your faculty and your staff and students. We found, it's best to plan ahead. You want to make sure, especially from day one, that you've built, a sustainable infrastructure, long-term funding for cyber infrastructure, and a plan in place for change management. Because ultimately you want to make sure that everything is not only cohesive but you are planning and being practical for everything in place.
And then you also want to prepare for unexpected changes in the landscape. We had a lot of things that we had planned, like we were going to do the CC Star, and that didn't pan out. And so these are unexpected things that happen, but you have to be resilient, so we have to learn how to be resilient. And that's why it's so important that we collaborate, we partner with each other, and we work together as we think of, we've got to be creative, right? And we've always been a creative people, so we got to continue to be creative as we deal with all of the unexpected changes that may be coming forward.
I'd just like to add, one of the lessons I learned was the importance of the chief information officer. And I know what you just said, because, if she goes down there to the casino and puts that quarter in, not that she's ever gone to a casino, that's a record show, but I mean, what happens if she does? And so I think the importance of the entire IT team. She's encouraged all of her individuals, from the innovations manager to the security officer to the technology officer to the network person. So they're all engaged, and you'll see them here, and so they're completely supportive. We want you to stay. Not strike it rich, but I think engaging that team and having broad campus buy-in. Let me go. So I think that's extremely important, and because some of the things that we're asked to do go beyond what's funded in terms of person efforts on the grant. And so, we have a CI facilitator that's funded full-time, but he can't do everything that needs to be done here. So having that larger community of individuals, I think, is one of the lessons that I learned.
I'm going to be taking up a collection at the door. I want everybody to give me quarters, okay? Okay.
Alrighty, well, I think we have just about 5 minutes left in this session. Of course, I don't want to stand in between anyone and their lunch, but we have just one last question. So unfortunately, we won't open it up to audience questions just for the sake of time, but as you all look forward and ahead with your PoCG program, especially as you all are rounding out your PoCG grants, what are the next major priorities, milestones, or opportunities that your institution is looking towards as this PoCG phases out?
I'll start off. I was talking with Mike on yesterday at the reception, and I don't know how many people in here used the punch card before. We got it's really good. So we were talking about AI from the 80s in terms of punch cards, and it's gone away, but it's back. And so Jackson State has an AI infusion committee, and my co-chair from the College of Business, she keeps things organized and moving. And we have people from across the campus, so we're infusing AI efforts throughout the entire campus, and we've had now for some reason I typed it said romance AI, but I think it's supposed to be responsible AI challenge. I think Siri's making change. It's supposed to be responsible AI challenge on campus. And we had faculty-student teams, and through a donation from, Cisco Systems, we had $25,000 in prizes. Last week we had a responsible AI writing retreat for faculty members, so we can figure out, and they were asked to address wicked problems. And so we have a lot of excitement on campus, and people are seeing the importance of this bigger infrastructure for research and education, if not for their current research, but for their AI-infused research. And if you have any questions, we have Dr. Mosley right over there.
I can add in to fully integrate, our HPC and our CI infrastructure continued partnerships. We want to build support for not only our students but our faculty, but we want to provide, sound operations, training, and growth for the entire campus.
I think for SKC is going to be their Edge Roam implementation, get that rolling. They did have, their previous CI facilitator got moved up to a department chair, so we had to shed those duties. They had a student that was actually doing those duties for a while. He had to move on, so they're looking for another replacement person for that, and just keep on increasing their faculty engagement.
I have one word, sustainability.
Awesome. All right, well, with that, we have about 3 minutes to spare, which is, of course, not enough time for questions, but we do welcome you all to meet with our panelists after the session, maybe sit down with them at lunch. Again, I'm not going to stand in between you all and the delicious food that's out there. So with that, if everyone can give a round of applause to our wonderful panelists. All right, thank you all for your time.